Here on the OCU Athletics Update, we're talking to Delaware Resource Group Super Star Athlete of the Week, Caitlin Chamness, junior volleyball player from Littleton, Colorado, set the OCU record for aces last week. And Caitlin, in the match against USAO, you had 10 aces. What went into that performance?
Honestly, just going through my routine, just felt really comfortable. We had a really big crowd come out for our game, so sometimes you just feel it, and that night was one of those nights. And after a couple, rattling them off, just kept going.
How did you develop your serve? It's pretty unique as far as the game's concerned.
One day in practice, coach just said, hey, work on whatever you want to work on. And one of the players from Edmond that went to Penn State, Micah Hancock, is a lefty with a really nice serve, and it just goes from left to right really hard. And I was like, I want to be like her. So I just tried doing it one day, and he really helped me work on it and develop it more.
What brought you here to OCU?
My sister was an athletic trainer here a couple of years ago, and I already knew I wanted to transfer, so she started talking to Kyle about me, and he was like, yeah, bring her out for a tryout. And I don't really think he was expecting a whole lot, but he ended up liking me and was like, if you want to come on out, we have a spot for you. So.
Your team has wrapped up the regular season conference championship, one regular season game to go. What are your team's expectations heading into the conference tournament and then continuing on in postseason play?
I think our team is really focused on winning the whole tournament outright so that we don't have to play an opening round game for nationals, and then we can actually host next year if we win. So I think that's ideal for all of us and everyone else in our conference too, because we're central to everybody.
What's your major here at OCU?
Criminal justice.
So what career goals do you have when volleyball's over?
Right now I'm looking into just going into state patrol or just being a cop, and then after that eventually move higher up in detective and see where that goes from there.
All right, we're talking to Delaware Resource Group Super Star Athlete of the Week, Caitlin Chamness. You can follow the Stars as they go into postseason play on OCUsports.com.
There's a call to be answered. The spirit of competition is still alive inside. The desire still drives. The phrase student athlete has a great ring to it. Lasting friendships are ready to be made. You just want to keep playing. Game on. Learn more at naia.org.
Here on the OCU Athletics Update, we're talking to men's wrestling coach CJ Campbell. The Stars men's team will get underway with the Oklahoma City Open. And Coach, you start the season with 5 top 10 individuals. Tell us about some of those guys.
Well, we're pretty fortunate this year, and I can't remember exactly where my guys are ranked. Rankings are not something that we spend a whole lot of time focusing on because it's our performance and our outcome that we're more interested with. But I'll just kind of go through the roster with you, and I'll highlight some of the key wrestlers for this season that we're really excited for. So at 125, we're going to be starting the year out with Mason Nafee, who ended up being nationally ranked. I think he's 13th, if I recall correctly. And he's a 2-time state finalist from Tulsa Union High School, and he's a 4-time Greco and freestyle All-American at Fargo. So he comes in with a lot of credentials and accolades, and we're excited to see what he can do for us this season. 133, I don't believe we have anybody ranked in that weight class. We're pretty young there. We've got a returning guy that we're having our ranking matches on Thursday, so we don't really know who our starting lineup is going to be. So we got 3 guys there. They're going to be battling it out to figure that out. 141, we got 2 guys that both got nationally ranked. We've got James Landaw and Parker Bohannon, who've both qualified for the national tournament for us in the past, and we're excited to see what they can do for us this season. 149, we got a kid named Eric Ambrose, who is from California. He was a California Junior College state placer, and had won some big matches for us last year, and he's earned a spot in the rankings somewhere. I don't believe he's in the top 10, but he's in the top 20 for sure. 157 is one of our key recruits, a 2-time Junior College All-American from NEO, who were national champions last year, in the junior college division. I believe he's placed 4th, if I recall correctly, and he's ranked in the top 10 for sure. I want to say 6th at 157. We're really excited to see what he brings to the table with his experience, and he's been fun to watch in the practice room. We are really hopeful for what he can do for us here at OCU. Moving into 165, we've got Ricky McCarty, who's a 2-time All-American and national champion. He tore his labrum last year at the national tournament and is still recovering from that. So we're deciding whether to wrestle him a little bit later in the season or possibly even give him a red shirt. So we'll make that decision as the season progresses. So we've got Brock Williams is behind him. I don't believe he's been ranked, but at 165 he'll be there. 174, we also have a junior college transfer from California Junior College, Sacramento City College, who won their division last year. He's a state placer from there, Isaiah Smith. He's a good-looking kid, very talented young man, and has been working really hard so far during preseason and as we get into our regular season competition. And then we get into 184, where we've got 2-time All-American Derek Severson, who's just been a tremendous asset to our program, both academically and athletically. Works hard every day. He's one of our team leaders, team captains. So you can't ask for a better guy than him to have on your roster representing Oklahoma City University. I believe he got a number 6 ranking in the national polls. 197, we got a kid, Evan Hudson, who was a national qualifier for us last year at 184, and we've bumped him up a weight class and see how he can handle. Those guys are a little bit bigger than what he's used to, so hopefully everything goes well for him there. And then we've got 2 heavyweights that were both national qualifiers last year. Corey Walker was an All-American for us at heavyweight, and his counterpart Bryson McGowan. Matter of fact, most of Corey's losses last year came from Bryson, so those are quite the pair to have in the wrestling room and to have in your lineup, double threat there. So that's kind of the outlook on our lineup for this season.
You talked about a couple of newcomers within that lineup, but tell us who some of the newcomers are to watch this year.
So we've got Mason Nafee, which I mentioned. He'll be at 125. He's a very talented young man, very explosive, very knowledgeable about wrestling. And one kid that we got 2 wrestlers that you're probably not going to get a chance to watch wrestle this year. They both had injuries during preseason. One is Mike McDonald, who's a 2-time state champion and high school All-American from Florida. Very talented young man who would have been wrestling between 125 and 133 for us. Tore his labrum in practice, and he's got to have surgery, and so we don't expect him to compete this year. We'll give him a red shirt. And you also have Talon Irwin, who's a state champion and a high school All-American out of Texas. And he's a 133-pounder. He tore his ACL during preseason practice, so unfortunately he won't be able to compete for us. We don't expect him to compete for us this season. He'll be another red shirt for us. So unfortunately you won't be able to see those guys in action, but they were 2 recruits that we were very pleased to get, and great kids, great work ethic. Gavin Millhouse is a kid that we brought in from Del City. We have 11 freshmen this year, and all of them are very talented young men. But Gavin placed, I believe, 3rd at the state tournament last year at 145. He'll be wrestling between 41 and 49 for us. Tyson Brown is a 33-pounder from Elk City that placed 3rd at the state tournament last year, and he'll be battling for a spot at 133. As far as our nationally ranked guys, you've got a couple of transfers that I mentioned, Isaiah Smith and Christian Hogan Mendez, that are both nationally ranked and going to do really well for us. Zane Jackson's a kid from Putnam City North that a very well put together young man. He's passed the eye test for sure. You look at him and he'll intimidate some people across the mat. And is a true freshman with a limited high school experience. I think he's only wrestled 3 years in high school. He's got some work to do to get caught up to speed on some of the techniques and making the transition to college wrestling, but I think he's going to do just fine for us. We move up to 97. You've got Caden Truelove, who was a state finalist for Mustang last year. And he'll be in the lineup mixing things up for us there in the upper weight classes. And another kid, Mike Sanchez, also a 33-pounder state finalist out of Texas, and Cesar Ramirez, 25-pounder, also from Texas. I hope I'm not missing anybody, but that's kind of a rundown of some of our incoming freshmen a great recruiting class that we had, and we're really excited for the outlook of the season.
One interesting thing that your team's going to do this year is the alumni duel, which is going to take place on the OCU quad. Tell us about that event.
Yeah, so we're really excited for this event. It's something that I was a part of, shortly after I graduated from college, and it's a tradition that a lot of teams kind of are doing these days, and so we decided to kind of piggyback on that and adopt that ourselves. And another trend that's been getting a lot of recognition is outside duels, outside events, and trying to bring more people to the campus to see something like that. So we're gonna good weather providing, we're gonna be wrestling right on the quad behind the library and between the chapel at 2 o'clock on Saturday. So we'd love for you guys to come out and watch our alumni wrestle our incoming freshmen. We've got about somewhere between 12 and 15 alumni that are slated to wrestle in that event. Of course, we've condensed the time frame for those matches because they're not in the same shape that they were in when they graduated college. So as opposed to a 7-minute match, wrestling 3-minute first period, 2-minute second and third periods, we're going to go 3 1-minute periods. So that'll kind of help even the playing field for those guys a little bit. They won't have the same gas tank and lung capacity that some of our current team has just because of the nature of our training. But we're really excited for that event, and we hope to see plenty of people out there supporting that.
You also have the OCU duels coming up in December. How did that event come about?
So we've been going out to Las Vegas every year for a similar event. The Wartburg put these on, called the Wartburg Duels, and it was hosted out in Las Vegas. And it was nice for our guys to, get a trip. Some of these guys have never been on an airplane before. They've never been to Las Vegas or Nevada, and so that was an event that we've been doing for the past few years. But we just decided this year to take that event and make it our own similar event to that situation. So we've got 10 teams coming in here December 19th, which is right after finals week for us. And everybody will get to wrestle 3 or 4 duels per team, and gives an opportunity to see some of the teams that we wouldn't normally see. So we're excited for that event.
What attracted you to the job here at OCU?
That's a good question. So I was previously the head coach over at the University of Jamestown in North Dakota. And Archie Randall, I've known of Archie Randall since I was in college. Matter of fact, a couple of my teammates, I wrestled at Lindenwood University, and a couple of my teammates there, Nate and Wade James, wrestled under him in high school, and spoke really highly of him. So I knew about all of his accomplishments and credentials in wrestling. And funny story is I applied for this job as an assistant coach when they first started the program back in 2008, I believe it was, and was overlooked at that time. But Archie's been talking to me, had been talking to me when I was at Jamestown for about 2 years, trying to convince me to come in and work with him. And we both talked about the idea that he was close to retirement, and there would be a good transition for my wife and I to get to a little warmer climate, a little more populated area that would fit our lifestyle a little better. And so I took a leap of faith and came down here, spent 2 years as an assistant coach, and proud and honored to be trying to fill his shoes this year.
All right, we're talking to OCU men's wrestling coach CJ Campbell. You can follow the Stars all season long on OCUsports.com.